if it's a really good study, it's well designed, asked an interesting question, people will be able to reproduce it. That's the essence of science.
Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of TOSLA's Nutri-Cosmetic 2030 show. I'm your host Uroš Gotar. With me is Dr. Mark Miller. Welcome, Mark.
Pleased to be here.
He's our newest addition to the scientific board. We're very lucky to have you. Mark is an internationally recognized biomedical researcher, entrepreneur, industry leader in health, wellness, dietary supplements, and functional foods. He's known for disruptive innovation and for bridging cutting-edge science with commercially successful products. He has been a professor in medical school for over 3 decades. We're very excited to have him bring his expertise and vision to TOSLA. So, Mark, when we asked you to join our scientific board, what was it about TOSLA that convinced you to do so?
Well, there's a number of elements that I think are really important. The best relationships are built on a foundation that is extremely strong. And how do you get a strong foundation? You have like-minded activities. And for me, the like-minded activities that I could sense very, very quickly is professionalism, the pursuit of excellence, and goals to make a difference in people's health and wellness. And with that as your foundation, then you've got a really good, strong relationship. Now that I've been here as well and seen the plant and see the automation and the refinements and the skills that are going into it and the planning for the future, I'm even more convinced that TOSLA is really something where I want to put my efforts and make a difference.
Thank you very much for those kind words.
Well, they're real. It's unusual. TOSLA's approach is unusual. And I was an unusual professor. I was always trying to do something that was either disruptive or when something didn't make sense, find a way to make it meaningful. And just to be able to see the process, the people, the structure, the physicality, and the goals, and the way that you're looking forward is really impressive. It's different. Different.
Okay, thank you. Most of the viewers, I bet they know that TOSLA's core category is liquid collagen. I am curious to understand, what does Dr. Miller think about collagen as a functional ingredient, but also what can people who do supplementation with collagen, what can they expect?
Yeah. The liquid format is very interesting. And it centers on a fundamental principle of therapeutics. Those principles that you're absolutely adhering to include dose and also delivery over time. So time and dose are really very critical. And what you're doing with the liquid format is making sure that people get the right dose. There's a lot of people or companies who would say go the route of a capsule or something like that. You just can't get enough material into the capsule.
Gummies in particular are very interesting lately, aren't they?
Well, people love gummies because it's like a treat. I've been a good person. I need to be rewarded. Give me a treat. It's like it's candy technology. It's lollies and candy as its structure. But the reality is you cannot get enough collagen peptides into a gummy. In essence, that rules it out. So the approach is always orientated towards the consumer and their benefits that they're going to get. And if you deliver them a product that has a delivery system
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't get the right amount, how is it going to work?
Mm-hmm.
How is it going to have an impact? So I think that this approach that you have is very sensible.
Mm-hmm. And if we stay a bit longer with the formats, liquids as opposed to powder
Mm,
offer another notion that is conveniency,
yes.
right?
The world is built around convenience
Mm,
these days. People love it. It's useful. Powders have their place. Yes, you can get the dose,
mm,
but you have to mix it. And what are you mixing it with?
right.
And are you mixing it correctly? All of those issues come into play.
Mm,
Therefore, being a supplier of both the right dose and convenience means that your consumers are getting a better response.
mm-hmm.
And they're more likely to take it every day.
Correct. Yeah, we see this with our customers as well.
Yes.
Um, what would you say about things like collagen type? How does that play a factor? We know
Mm.
collagen type 1, type 2, type 3, and so on.
Yeah, so this is really an interesting area because it separates the science at a very superficial level, as well as our understanding of what collagen does in tissues. So just for clarity, there's 28 forms, 28
Mm,
forms of collagen. We tend to focus on which tissues dominate in one particular form. It might be
mm,
type 1, type 2. Again, there's 28, so there's a lot to choose from.
mm,
But we tend to focus our conversations on one particular type because it's dominant in a specific tissue.
mm,
The reality is all of the types have a degree of importance. One analogy I would use in this particular scenario is, again, collagen is like a building structure. It holds everything together in your tissues, holds the cells together. They're involved in communication and positioning and strength. And if you think about, say, the dominant forms of collagen, they're like the girders in a building when you're laying down the structure. But the rarer forms, the ones that are less common, may be the screws and the rivets that combine it all together. Each one has a role. Each one has its place,
mm,
but one may be bigger and more dominant, but they all have a role. So I don't think when someone says, oh, I need type 2 collagen, I don't need the rest,
mm.
that's a misunderstanding on how the body works. What you need is all of them in the right amounts, in the right place, at the right time.
Mm-hmm. So, how do we put this in the context of supplementation?
Yes.
Do we need to take collagen type 28 for building collagen
That's
type
kind of
28?
complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, to say, here's the profile as it relates to the relative amounts. And it's a little sort of confusing, I would say.
Mm,
And the reason being is that with collagen supplementation, you're not actually taking the proteins,
mm-hmm.
or 28 of them. You're actually taking peptides. And the difference is that the peptides are much smaller. Sometimes I'd like to use the analogy of a pearl necklace.
Mm-hmm.
So it's made up of lots of different pearls. The whole necklace is the protein, and the peptides are little segments of 2 or 3, 4 pearls connected together. It's not the necklace, but it is a component of it. And so what we're doing with collagen peptides is giving you a range of these little pieces of pearl necklaces. The advantage of that is, getting back to mechanisms of action, is that those little segments, those little small groupings of pearls, instruct the cells in your body to go into an action plan to make their own collagen. huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the right sequence of peptides, they're activating the cells for you to make your own collagen, all 28 forms of them,
Mm-hmm.
as well as everything else.
And it's not possible to influence the production of only one type, but we could, I guess, say that all types are created
Yeah,
due
so
to
it
the
depends on
supplement.
the tissue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in one specific area or skin or joints like cartilage,
Yeah.
once you instruct the cells to go into this anabolic or growth mode, they will make all the forms of collagen they need
Mm-hmm.
in the right amounts at the right place.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the location where you are in the body, and the cells know their role
Okay.
based on where they are, and they will make all the right ingredients. So these are like the collagen peptides are like a key,
Mm.
and it opens the door and then tells the cells, fibroblasts, to actually do their job and make all the stuff that you need.
Mm. Where in the body can collagen be found? You mentioned cartilage
Yeah, it's basically everywhere, isn't it?
everywhere.
Yeah. It's a component of what we call in grander schemes the matrix.
Mm.
Not the movie, stuff that holds you together. And it's not just collagen. There's glycoproteins,
Mhm.
there's other proteins, elastin, integrins. There is also polysaccharides like hyaluronic acid.
Mhm.
All of that is part of the matrix, and the relative amounts of all these different components are important for the location that you're in.
Mm.
Yeah. So, like in tissues that have a lot of physical stress or torsion, you need things that are a little bit more elastic.
Mhm.
So, you may have elastin, you may have glycoproteins like the tenascins, they're another one. And these change in relative amounts in all the different tissues depending on what that tissue has to do,
Mm.
what's its function, what's its purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the matrix is complicated. It's not, I gave the analogy of a building structure, but it's actually not just form, it's also function.
Mhm.
That's really important.
Looks like a very versatile ingredient, collagen. I sometimes argue that it's the ultimate longevity ingredient, and we hear lately a lot about longevity.
Yes.
So we are at TOSLA. We are doing what we call collagen platform, where we basically take collagen as a base and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe add an ingredient to target a category like anti-aging, joint health,
Mm-hmm.
men's health, women's health, and so on. So what do you think about that?
Well, absolutely. First of all, there is a concept that everyone appreciates that with aging, collagen content tends to decline.
Mm-hmm.
With that concept that there's reduced amounts of collagen, we tend to think that the problem is production, and that may be
Okay.
quite accurate. There's a flip side, though. Our collagen content, total content, is dictated by not only production, but degradation,
Mm.
breakdown. And that is something that the industry really hasn't taken to heart or understand or worked very hard to manipulate.
Mm.
So with aging, where you have a sort of reduced amount of collagen, this sort of deficit, the functionality that we're trying to achieve can be done by two mechanisms or two foci, two
Mm-hmm.
ways of thinking. That is, improve production and suppress destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't do the latter very well.
Mm.
We can, but that's probably part of the future of the industry.
Yeah, we see this quite a lot brands say that collagen production degrades by 1% every year after age of 25. So you're saying that this is just over generalization and we can actually influence on that.
Well, Uroš, you know I'm a data guy. I love the old professor in me says, show me the data, right? Show me the data. I'm not sure that this concept that you're talking about is built on hard numbers in the science. I think it's conceptual. I think it's appreciated. I think the public kind of understands it. But is it a simplistic interpretation?
Right.
I think most people will agree that with aging, there is a decline in total amount. I would tend to say that it's not just a problem with production. I think actually the bigger issue may be the fact that it's being broken down at a pace that you can't keep up with.
Okay.
And to some extent, the body is not silly. It's rarely silly. It may be dysfunctional, but it's not really silly. So one of the issues is that the body doesn't tend to waste its time and energy doing two things simultaneously that are in opposition. So rarely will you find energy and resources devoted to production, while at the same time you're devoting energy and resources to destruction. It'll do one or the other. And this is part of what I'd like to call cellular decision making. So you're going to get a better outcome when you optimize the decision making of the cells.
But there are still a lot of naysayers. We've established the efficacy and all of that, but still we hear, after all these clinicals and all of that, we hear that, okay, collagen doesn't work. For example, there was a recent meta-study analysis published just 3 months ago. Today is August 29th, I think, or 20th. Basically, what it said is that there is no clinical evidence to support collagen supplements for preventing or treating skin aging. I saw some LinkedIn posts that almost, people were almost triumphantly declaring that, okay, now we know collagen doesn't work. So, what is your take on that?
I'm not sure why you would want to be triumphant over a concept like that.
That's how I read it anyway.
Yeah, no. Look, if you have a orientation as being a naysayer and you see a headline, you say, yes, my feelings are true and accurate. Again, going back to the old professor and me, let me give you some perspective of how I interpret that. I've been an editor or editorial board member or reviewer for over 65 biomedical journals. I stopped counting it. And in fact, I stopped doing a lot of that work. But as a result, I've read and reviewed prior to publication to see if they're worthy thousands and thousands of papers. And in this time, I tend to do a similar role for the industry as a judge for applications for best in class, getting awards for being, the best product or ingredient on the market, and look at the data. Can we go back to the data to justify winning an award? So I'm really diligent and thorough and dedicated to looking at the data for these applications and any paper that gets submitted. The problem in that particular study in particular is that it was a meta-analysis, which is a very, very weak form of analysis of biomedical information. Basically, what they're doing is they're getting studies that have already been published and try and find areas where they can have consistency and then add up the numbers such that they are greater and more powerful. That particular study had looked at 23 publications, but they dismissed 17 of the 23 before they even went into their meta-analysis, for the simple reason that the funding came from industry. That is a bias. My feeling is, again, show me the data. And then I will look at the numbers. I will look at the statistics. I will look at how the study was designed, performed, and what are the results. And then I'll make up the conclusion of whether they're biased or not. Studies are expensive. It's one of the reasons why I like TOSLA, because you are very unusual as a manufacturer to do actual research. It's quite rare. You have to get funding for a study from somewhere.
Somebody has to pay for it, is what you're saying.
The government, some health agency, or a commercial venture is wanting to pose a question, is this working? And so I'm less worried about the funding source versus the data, versus the numbers, versus the design. And so when someone tells me we threw out 17 of 23 studies simply because they were funded from commercial sources, to me that's a bias of the authorship. So it's wrong. In short, it's really a flawed study. Meta-analysis is very difficult, but at the same token, you shouldn't be inserting hardcore biases like that. So when they came out with the conclusion out of the 6 studies that they did do, that it didn't work, you're not really looking at the entire picture. And the 6 studies have their own problems. Many of them have flaws related to the wrong dose. Again, therapeutics is based on dose and time. And when you have a study that's either too short or you didn't give enough, in this case, collagen peptides, then you're not going to get a potentially insightful or meaningful result. So, yeah, that's a terrible paper. I really don't enjoy it. I get annoyed by it because too many people read the headline and don't dive in deep and see how they did it.
Rarely they would read through the abstract and the conclusion, but there's not really a lot of people who go into the gist of it. But I worry that a lot of people will now just memorize the headline and continue to make the noise, which is discouraging for TOSLA, really, because should we now just not do fundings
but
anymore?
we're in a social media world, Uroš, who looks at headlines and doesn't dive deep. It's part of what society's turning into. The only thing that we can do is to try and define and pursue excellence. As it relates to this, I think you just, you have to have a vehicle for describing people's needs and how to solve those particular needs. And collagen peptides absolutely have a role. I'm not as worried about, bad science. Science, by its inherent nature, involves duplication. If it's a really good study, it's well designed, asked an interesting question, people will be able to reproduce it. That's the essence of science. It's reproducible. So when you have a study like that that's statistically flawed and not well constructed, it won't be necessarily reproducible. You'll find someone who will expand on the bias, but they won't necessarily have a reproducible piece of science.
Mm.
And as you've pointed out, there are many, many studies that were rejected in that who actually have shown, the benefits, including your own with TOSLA.
Yeah, we did fund that 3 clinical study that used our products and did prove statistical significance in endpoints like improving the skin dermis, reduction of wrinkles, and all of that.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it worked. That is something that's going to be reflective of what the consumers find. And so, yeah, you have science, but you also have social media and interactions, and they'll tell their friends
Sure.
it worked.
Yeah. It's maybe the most important thing, the word of mouth, so to speak.
But as leaders in the industry, we need to give them the right direction, and we need to give them context, and we need to be able to provide to them the material that will get them to where they need to be, where they want to be. And that also circles back to delivery systems and dosing and timing and all of that. If you give them the right instructions and you validate it with the evidence, then they'll have confidence.
Mark, what do we know about the mechanism of work of collagen peptides? How does it work?
Yeah, so let's start off with the misconception.
Okay.
And the misconception is that if I swallow collagen peptides, first of all, people struggle between protein and peptides. Peptides are tiny, proteins are big. It's like that whole pearl necklace versus a little fragment. And we're taking the fragments. And so those little fragments, when you ingest them and they go through the gastrointestinal tract and get absorbed, they don't reconstruct into the whole necklace themselves, which is what most people think happens. I take a form of collagen and it'll get reconstructed once it gets into my bloodstream and delivered to where I need it. It doesn't work that way. I think the industry has allowed that misconception to exist. Really, what it does is much more important. And the size of the peptides is absolutely critical because you can't have them too big because the body will break them up as part of digestion. So these small peptides get absorbed, delivered in the blood, go to the tissues, and they change the way cells behave, particularly fibroblasts. These are the cells that make collagen and the other matrix elements. And so you alter cellular decision-making. So you redirect their functionality. It may have been wandering off and being a bit dysfunctional for various reasons. And now you're redirecting back to where they should be for optimal health. So the whole purpose of collagen peptides is not to get reconstructed in the body after they're absorbed. It's to be absorbed, go to the target, and change the decisions of the cells to make your own collagen, or 28 forms of them, as well as glycoproteins and polysaccharides and other proteins. And that's where you get health. That's where you get the benefits.
If we think about collagen 2.0, let's say, the next generation of collagen, how would you improve it? Where do you see the opportunity in improving collagen supplements?
It goes in several directions. One of them, you can be a little bit more selective in the types of peptides that you have, so the overall dose may lower. I don't see that as being something that's going to happen very soon. It'll be quite expensive, but it's potentially a way to select the really important peptides. That's one possibility. It's the least, I think, commercially viable at this stage. What's going to really make a difference is understanding that mechanism of action being centered on cellular decision making. If you can optimize that, so you know what the collagen peptides are doing, maybe you can use other natural products to enhance that, right? You could also use other natural products to address a related but different process of decision making. And that combination then may really amplify the overall benefits that you're getting. So there's many ways to particularly do that. So I would imagine what we're going to see in the future is collagen peptides as your foundation for your beautiful building. And now we're going to add layers and layers, extra stories, extra floors onto the building by using other things that nature provides for us to make that overall health response stronger and more effective.
Looks like you're talking about our collagen platform that we talked about earlier.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm really very confident that there'll be tremendous responses by the consumers as we amplify and further optimize these responses, because their benefits, their end result will be much stronger.
Okay, thank you for that. Maybe for one last question, what excites you recently in terms of active ingredient beyond collagen that has like a lot of clinical scientific backing, and what category?
Yeah, so I get excited by a lot of things. So trying to pin me down to one is a challenge, Uroš. You made it very difficult for me. So one of the ones that I particularly like that is related but also independent is astaxanthin, which is a carotenoid. It's the reason why salmon are salmon-colored. And in fact, salmon would never be able to swim upstream, in my belief, if it wasn't for astaxanthin. Tremendous data supporting it for energy, sports performance. But beyond that, natural astaxanthin is the most potent free radical scavenger that we know from nature. Incredibly potent. And in particular, it has benefits on mitochondria. So we know that defects or dysfunction in mitochondria are a big component in aging. And we've already discussed that, collagen levels decline with aging for various reasons. And so part of those relate to mitochondrial health and oxidative stress. And astaxanthin will be able to have other impacts on aging, but also direct impacts on the ability of cells to make collagen. There was a really, really nice study done preclinically in human fibroblasts where they exposed them to UV radiation, and the production of collagen went down to zero, as you perhaps anticipate with excessive sunshine. And that's because the cells are no longer making the decision to make collagen under oxidative stress. And then they added vitamin C, and it had a very tiny benefit, very tiny. Astaxanthin is 6,000 times more potent as a free radical scavenger than vitamin C. So when you treated the cells with UV radiation and astaxanthin, production was basically normal.
Well,
and terribly responsive. And if you add vitamin C on top of it, you actually get even better, despite having UV radiation. There is also an impact on astaxanthin on MMPs. These are the enzymes that are involved in destroying collagen, matrix metalloproteinases. So when you have UV radiation, you have oxidative stress, there's free radicals. The free radicals change the way that those cells make decisions. Instead of making collagen, they're destroying it, not the result you want, right? So if you can add elements to amplify and redirect that decision making, then you're going to get a better result. You're going to turn off the MMPs. You're not going to destroy your collagen, and you're going to actually restore production to normal levels. And then the mitochondria is another side story. It's somewhat related, somewhat independent, but still focused on aging.
Yeah, I think that mitochondria in particular will be an interesting topic in the near future in the context of longevity. I already see some articles emerging that are going into that direction.
A lot of them look at different organs and tissues. I think many people are interested in the brain as it relates to aging. And we do have a really growing understanding of mitochondria as it relates to brain function with age. So it's really quite important. Put it this way, I've been taking astaxanthin for several decades, so I'm still thinking in my old age. I hope to continue. Uroš, one of the elements I would like to sort of pound away on for our relationship with TOSLA is to make sure that the company is seen as being one of the leaders driving innovation into the future, because that innovation will make such a difference in people's health and wellness. And I'm very confident that as a company, you embrace that innovation, that you are looking forward to the future and leveraging where you can the best ingredients possible. So I'm delighted to be a member of the relationship, and I look forward to the future.
Likewise, Mark, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for accepting of being a scientific advisor to our scientific board. And I also like to thank our listeners and viewers for being here with us, and we'll see you next time.
Just